Hey everybody, I've got some good news. The gate polish, meaning slight adjustments to our gate design, is looking pretty good, enough to ship for pilot anyway. And we've got two very different designs. So in today's video, I'm gonna show those to you and you can see for yourself how they work. So on the left here, we have a pretty traditional designed gate with pressure plates. On this side, we have an alternate design. We're going to get back to that. But for now, let's take a look at this. It's going to look very familiar to you if you've worked with projectors or scanners before. And essentially, you would open this up. This is also removable, by the way, and you'll see it run with and without this in just a bit. But you've got a wall in the back, a wall on this side with these two little guys here, and then you've got these rails for the film to sit on, and it's transported like this. So the downward pressure is, if it's without the pressure plates, there's a little bit of an angle coming off of here, so it's stretched tight across the flat surface of these. And that's usually enough, but if you've got some wobble or some waviness in your old film, you might want the pressure plates. Now before I get to that, one other thing, if your film is slightly shrunken and you need to push it against the wall over here to remain stable in this direction, you would do so with this spring-loaded, it's very, very light. And you can adjust the strength of that spring by moving the back plate forward or backwards. So here you can see it's just meeting the edge of our film, keeping it against this backstop, and we would run it just like that. Or we can add the pressure plate, which just snaps on back first. This is tricky without the whole machine holding the film. And then just down there. And so as you can see here, the film is going in between these two, and it's very light right now, those 2 feet, and it's being pressurized. So there's no pressure here or here, so you're getting a full edge-to-edge scan. Some people really want that full edge-to-edge, and this setup gives you that. What if you want full support underneath both sides? That's very easy. You would, let me get this out of the way, you would unscrew these screws, put in this length on either side, and do the same here. You would undo these screws, this drops out, replace it with this size, and then you would have full support under both sides and full pressure under both sides, before the frame, during the frame, and after the frame. So very, very stable going through. And you don't have to use this either. This is also optional. You could just loosen this up, back it off, and it won't be engaged. Here's the pressure plate version running 35. Give you a little view of it, a little POV from the film view. See the pressure on the side there. We've got our spring loaded side alignment bar working. You can see that here. It's giving just a little bit of pressure so that it goes up against that wall. And you can run it just like this, actually. You can remove this very easily since it's a snap-in, or you can choose to put it right back on whenever you need it. I should be looking at the thing, not the camera. Or just flip it up for a little bit, see how you like it. You can see it running flat down there, more or less. There's a slight angle, as I may have mentioned before, coming off the gate onto the roller, so it's being pulled taut just below the level of the gate there, ensuring that it is as flat as it can be when it's up there. But if you've got some damaged film or you want to be extra sure, you can do this. And as I mentioned before, you could also put full length bars on here. You won't get that full edge-to-edge view, but you will get a little bit more stability out of it. There you go. So for the alternate gate, we have something very similar. Different but similar. So let's put this here for reference, just side by side. Here, the only time you can get pressure right at the frame from above is if you run full rails. Here you have, in other words, the option of having pressure at the frame or only on the sides. That does not exist here. It is only at the frame with this. So imagine these are both on rails, this is backwards, and they meet at the edges of the film. Firstly, the film would go right through here. These are spring-loaded thanks to this little, let's see if I can get my thumbnail under there, this little loop of 3D printed plastic. And the film just goes right in there. And there's a mechanism on the machine you'll see later that lines it up so you know where to be. So now I've got that downward pressure. It's just right. I've tested it. It's not too much. It's not too little. It just puts it where it's going to be. Like, it even holds it a little bit, which is nice, but it's definitely not adding undue pressure there. So similar to this design, we need a backstop. If we're going to control the wiggle this way, we need to press it into a backstop that doesn't move. And in this case, it's this bar right here. So how do we do that? If we're pressing in the middle and we can't come in the middle to do that, we have to do it from the sides. So in the back, you adjust it by loosening this and moving it on these mini rails in the back, forward or backward, until you hit the edge of your film. And now that's set. Then you move this side in, you clamp it down with the jaws, and you move the spring-loaded side in, and it's a little hard to see here, but it's the same mechanism as on the other one, and these arms are spring-loaded. And so if you look at it from this direction, you have the film running right through the middle, and then these spring-loaded arms would press it away from the edge towards this edge. So the advantage here is that when I'm running 35, again, let's load this up so you can see it. I use pretty much the entire width of those metal rails to grab the edge of the film. When I run 16, it's not going to be that. It needs to be much thinner. It needs to be about that, much thinner. So the only thing I have to do in that case, let's say it was that thin, is loosen this and move the position of my wall up to meet that edge. So now I've got the wall coming in before and after the gate, and just enough pinching on the top and bottom at the very edge. You do the exact same on the other side, and you're done. So the main difference between these two are 2 pieces. You never need any other hardware. This is all you're going to need for all gauges of film. Or you get something that's a little more familiar, perhaps you're more comfortable with it, and you just need to make one of these for every type of or size of film that you're going to use. If you're only going to run 16 or Super 16, this might be just enough for you. You just need 2 of them. You're going to run 35, 16, 29, 19, include your number here, then this is probably your best bet. So let's see what they look like on the machine. This is the alternative design, the sliding gate. And you can see it's working pretty well. Put the camera right down the middle here. Wait for it to focus. You can see it's going both edges of the film. The film is just like the other gate being pushed back against this backstop. It's just in a different place. And that pressure is coming from these spring-loaded arms. So you can see there's tiny little springs in there. And if we pull them back, if we do it from the middle, you can see they are providing some force on the picture. And then these, of course, don't move. You can adjust them. So if you have 16, you move them closer so that there's a thinner amount of margin being held there, and vice versa on the other side. So less pieces to swap out, but a little more finicky in getting set up for the first run. After you have it set for the first run, you can just thread it right through every time. One of the problems I had to solve with the sliding gate design was, well, how do I know exactly if I'm lined up where I need to be with where the edges of the rollers are? So I made this little insert, which is also going to double as the aperture. So there will be a smaller opening for 16 with these raised stops. There they are on the side, measured to right where they should be. So it pops in. And then if this is loose, you just slide it up until it can't slide anymore, right up against the back of that stop. and that is where that one should be. You tighten it down and it stays. This one has a little extra room in case the film is shrunk and you need to go further in, but not that much. It's going to stop you from going too far for 35. So you could basically push it in, know that you're close, and then back it off just a little bit until you're in the right. If I had to guess, I think more people are going to like the pressure gate than the slider gates, but I'm going to send both versions out with the Pilot machines. In case you're new to the channel, Pilot being our first test users. There's 3 of them. There are 2 universities and a small archive. And we'll see which ones they like more. I'll ask them to use both, give them both a shot, give me notes on both, and both designs will always be available for you to make on your own. As soon as I'm done with the rest of the machine, I'll go back through all the files, make sure they're usable, and publish them, and then you'll be able to make them on your own with a full list of parts, links where you can find them, 3D printer files, all of that. So may the best gate win, I suppose. All right, that's it for now. Let's see what's next. Next is testing 16mm. So I've got to make another pressure gate for 16 and Super 16. And then I need to test it with these slider gates, make sure that my theory works for that as well. Stay tuned.